This is a workshop about what skills do you need for effectively taking exams. Well, you're all students and you all have to take exams. And exams taking is not always that fun. But what we're going to learn today, hopefully in this workshop, is that I'm going to, at the end, you'll have some more tips and skills for how to more effectively take these exams. But before I start, sometimes I forget to introduce myself, and I already see some familiar faces. My name is Gootje Visser. I'm an educational specialist and a teacher. I'm born and partly raised in Curacao, and I also worked there at the University of Curacao, and also went to Aruba to in university sometimes. And currently I work in The Hague at the University of the Haagse Hogeschool at the study of pedagogiek. And in September, I'm going to move to Bonaire. So I'm closer to you guys. So that's a little bit about me. And I see some familiar faces, so that is nice. Today we're going to talk about exam. So what we're going to do, first we're going to check out the learning goals, what we're going to learn this workshop. Then we're going to do a briefly introduction about the theme, about exam taking skills. And then we're going to talk it in 4 phases. Because taking an exam, the skills you need for taking an exam, you can divide it in 4 phases. The preparation before the exam, so like the day before the exam and the night before the exam, and during the exam, so that when you actually sit behind your desk and making the exam, and then also after the exam. So we're going to focus on the skills you need for exam taking in 4 phases. And then when we did that, we're going to focus a little bit on what is exam stress, what is exam anxiety, and what happens when you have mind blanks or freezes, and how to overcome that. Okay, exams. What will you learn today? What are the learning goals? Well, I hope at the end of this workshop, you will get tips and tools that will help you to gain a command of the content, accumulate points towards a graded reflection potential, avoid excessive test stress, and at the end, I hope that you enjoy a sense of accomplishment when you finish an exam. So that are a little bit the goals we're going to work towards in this workshop. Okay, before we start, some questions you can think of, you can read them already, what they say here, and think on yourself, what do you recognize these, and put in the chat or put on your audio if you recognize some of these questions. Like for the first, do you sometimes when you make an exam get a mind blank, or do you freeze? Or do you sometimes forget what you studied when taking a test? You're like, yeah, you don't know anymore what it is. Or do you find it difficult to find out what the teacher really asks from you? For example, you're in an exam and you read these questions and think, huh, but this looks totally different than what I was learning. What is this? Or sometimes maybe you feel rushed when taking exams. You feel like, oh, I have not enough time to finish all of this. How am I going to do this? Do you guys recognize any of these questions? You can put it in the chat. Or of course, put your audio on if you'd like. Yeah, Tiaga, number 1. Samantha says 1 and 3 and 4. Yeah, good to hear. Julie, the 3rd one, you find that's the one that teacher asked from you. Yeah, I hope I can help you with that today. Jesus says a mind blank, and also feeling very. So it's our questions you guys recognize. Good to hear. Thanks, everyone. Well, let's do a little self-check then, because I've got some more questions for you. And I hope the 4 questions you just read, we're going to focus on later on this workshop. And I hope at the end, you'll get some more tips and tricks how to work with that. So I hope I can help you with those. But first, we do a little self-check. I'm going to ask you to go to menti.com and use this code. I'm also going to put it in the chat here, the code 1647375. I'm going to present it. Some of you are already filling in very well. Cool. So what applies for you when you think of exams? I see already that blank is something that happens, blank out or freeze. So I have, in the end of this workshop, I have some tips for that. Some of you say, I forget what I studied. I wait until the last minute. Yeah, I know, recognize it one. Feeling rushed, also something that happens. And I see you guys are well trained in multiple choice exams, or you never have multiple choice exams, maybe. It's also something. Someone is not doing well on multiple choice exams. For me, it applies the same. I'm really bad at multiple choice exams. I really dislike them. But other ones maybe also don't like problem solving. Yeah. Oh, a lot don't like them. Essay exams. Feeling rushed. Yeah. Oh, good to see, guys. Yeah, so this is a little self-check. I'm going to stop share the screen. And we're going to share the PowerPoint again. So here you can see, we did a little self-check about how you did on these work on exams. And hopefully we'll answer all your questions. And at the end, you have a little bit of more tips how to work on these issues. But first, I told you guys about that we're going to focus today on in 4 phases, the exam taking skills. The first is the preparation part, the part where you're going to study, the part where you do everything. And then we're going to do the before the exam. So that is after preparation, the day before the exam, and the night before the exam. And then phase 3, during the exam. So when you're actually sitting behind your desk in the university and you get your paper and you have to make the test. And then the last phase is after the exam, also not important. When you finish your exam and you're going to reflect. And hopefully you did a good score, maybe you didn't pass, so that is after the exam. And we're going to learn you all different kinds of skills and tips, but of course, not every tip works for everyone, so choose your own. Same like some of you were also here with the motivation workshop. The same applies for here. Use the skills or tips that think it works best for you. Preparation, really important. So this is the time when you watch the horror collages, the collages, you went to the classes, you start reading, but actually it starts all the way in the beginning. Learn what you have to learn. Be smart. And what you do with that is start reading in the syllabus. Maybe there's something surprising. And with syllabus, I mean studiegids. Like every course or module has a syllabus, right? And in these syllabuses are always mentioned the learning goals, or sometimes also an assessment form. I noticed that lots of my students never read these. Sometimes assessment form, but the learning goals, they think, that's so interesting. But actually, it's so super important. And I always say to my students, really read these learning goals. So I'm going to focus today and exercise a little bit with you guys on these learning goals. We'll focus on that. I will explain that later. Another thing is, like lots of you guys have, when you have an exam, it's not only one exam, but you have like 5 exams in a week, right? It's not only one. But how do you do that? Well, set up a schedule, classify your exams in order of difficulty. So like, okay, this is a more difficult one, I'm going to plan this one first. And take breaks in between the topics. So try to get a clear mind. try to help yourself with that. So schedule and make it also a little bit fun for yourself. Well, now I'll focus back on the first thing I said is learning, be smart and learn what you have to learn. And this is what I'm going to mean with that. A lot of times, and I already heard you guys saying that, when you study and you earn the test and the teacher told you you have to study chapter 1, 3, 5, 6, and 7, article this, article that, another book, you have to all study that. I think, okay, I'm going to read it all. You read all these books, all these chapters, and then you are in the exam. You enter the exam and you see the questions and you think, huh? This is, and I read all that, but it's not an exam at all. How is that happening? Well, that is kind of a mystery. And I'm here to take out the mystery of exams, hopefully, and that is focus on the learning goals and the assessment form. But first, the learning goals. Does everyone recognize that there are learning goals in the syllabus? Have you ever seen them? Yeah, cool. I don't know if someone already ever saw this picture. It looks a little bit complicated, but actually it's not that complicated because I'm going to explain it to you guys. Maybe someone recognizes it. What it is. These are the way your study is compiled. So teachers say they make learning goals for your courses. And yeah, exactly, Shamike, you know it. It's Bloom's taxonomy. Yeah, for the ones that know that, this is the one. And good that you already know, this is how education of our study is focused. So, a teacher, it chooses for you a learning goal, what you have to learn at the end of your course. For example, they want you to learn more of the knowledge goals. Well, each learning goal, I can give this example later, but each learning goal has verbs in them, like actively verbs, like arrange, define, describe. And these verbs, they tell you how to learn what you have to learn. So if you be smart and look really well at those learning goals, you know what you have to learn. For example, if you only have to know a knowledge learning goal, that like the teacher says, you only have to define something or memorize something or recognize something. If that's a word that's in the learning goal, a verb that's in the learning goal, you only have to remember previous learned information. So you don't actually have to understand it. You only have to learn it. So, okay, when you see kind of learning goal like that, you know, okay, I don't have to really deeply analyze it or apply it in a case. No, I just have to know the facts or the theory or reproduce it. So that's what the words that are in purple. Yeah? Am I doing well? Are you guys still understanding me? Please let me know if I go too fast. Huh? Okay, cool. Thanks, Samantha. Then the next one in blue, that's the comprehension. So that is more a little bit of understanding. And if you see learning goals with verbs in them, like describe or review or rewrite or summarize. Maybe you guys sometimes see something like the word summarize. Distinguish, explain. Those are all words that you're not enough with only remembering. You also really have to understand it. You have to demonstrate it. You have to understand why it is. So you know, if you see those words, okay, I have to learn a little bit more. I have to really get this part. Then a phase later on. As it gets phase higher order skills, this is the part where you have to apply it. You have to apply your knowledge, application. These are the words in green. So you can find words in here like verbs in here like apply, demonstrate, produce, manipulate, relate. A lot of times you see case studies. I don't know if you guys sometimes have case studies, like where there's an example and they want you to put that theory in that example or recognize a theory in that example. Well, it asks more from you. If you see those learning goals, you can think, okay, now I can really practice myself. I can practice myself with cases. Because I not only have to understand it, but I also have to actually do it in other situations. So you really have to practice. It's more than understanding. And then the higher parts, like yellow, orange, and red, those are more the higher order thinking skills. And those, like example, the red ones, that is something you see a lot of times in your last year in your thesis, where you have to make and defend judgment based on internal evidence or external criteria. So it's like, those are higher order skills where you really have to apply what you've learned. And then the yellow and orange one analyzes. You can see that also sometimes the learning goals like categorize, compare, differentiate. So that also asks more from you to use it more than only learning the facts. Okay, this was a lot of information. I hope everything's still doing good. But I want to do a practice. This is practice. We're going to, I've got 6 different learning goals here for students that actually exist and for different studies. And we're going to look at them, at what is the verb here, and what do you think if you find this learning goal in your syllabus, what do you think you have to learn? What do you think the teacher asks from you, and what do you actually have to, in what phase state do you have to learn? Do you have to only understand it? Do you have to remember only it? Or do you have to apply it? Or even a higher order skill? So, okay, let's start at the first one. Will students be able to list various kinds of loops in JavaScript? So that's the first one in the list. Students will be able to list various kinds of loops in JavaScript. What do you guys think? You can put it in the chat. Do you think this is more more a knowledge? Do you only have to like learn it, or is it more understanding? Or do you think it's more that you have to apply it? What do you think? What do you have to learn if you have to learn this? If you find this in your syllabus? Does someone know? I'll be able to list various kinds of loops. So you have to make a list of all the different loops. Yeah? But you only have to write which loops there are. Maybe it's a difficult learning goal because I also don't know what are loops in JavaScript. But this is actually Korean more of, remember them. Maybe Zion knows more about JavaScript loops. I didn't. But yes, if you have something like list, then it asks from you, like you don't have to understand it actually. You only have to name them. Like another example is name the different psychologists from the early 1900s. I just say something, I just think of something, but name some that are you only have to name, so you only have to learn the names, but not really understand who they are, why they are, what they did, or recognize them, not only knowing. Okay, we're going to try one other. The third one, students will be able to use this accounting software for their annual family budgets. What do you think? What should this, is this only remembering? Is this knowledge, or do you have to apply this one? What do you guys think? Students will be able to use this accounting software for their annual family budgets. So you have to, is this apply, knowledge, or, yep, apply. You really, yeah, perfect, because so this is more than only understanding, you really have to do it. Okay, maybe this was a lot of information, but do you guys a little bit understand what I mean with this? So my big tip is when you start the course before learning, check out the learning goals and think, okay, what do I actually have to learn? What does the teacher want from me? Does he want it only have to learn the facts, or do I really have to understand this and practice it? I'm curious, is this something new for you guys, or did you already know this? What do you think about this? Let's put it in the chat. I'm really curious. It's new. What do you think of it, Astrianti? Do you think it's something you're going to use? Oh, that's cool. Okay, I'm also curious what the rest will think. And then we'll also send you the PowerPoint. So if you want to reschedule it, it's the Bloom's taxonomy. If you want to see the verbs and really practice a little bit, oh, you already knew them already. Oh, okay, cool. Nice that you know that. Then we're going to the next phase. And that is the night before the exam, or the day before the exam. The most important tips are get enough sleep. Sleep is important. There's lots of research how important sleep is. And avoid caffeine, which increases anxiety, they say. Give yourself time to feel composed and be on time for the exam. Avoid anxious classmates who are talking about the exam. Maybe you recognize that when you see someone in the night before, or you're chatting with them on WhatsApp, and they say, oh yeah, but I also learned that, and you get all stressed out because you think, oh, but I didn't read that or I didn't learn that. So it only will give you a little bit stress and anxiety, and it's not always good the night before. And then the day of the exam. So the night is over, it's the day of the exam, what you're going to do. And there are always students that go cramming for the test and just think, oh, I have to focus and learn everything. But no, the best tips from universities is focus on the test. Just forget everything else, just focus, be relaxed, avoid wasting time and energy worrying about your grades or about what other students did or what they're doing. You feel anxious, practice your relaxation techniques. Like some of you already said, like breathe a little bit, and use anxiety as a cue to relax. Like if you feel anxious, you feel, okay, oh, I'm anxious. Now you think, okay, I'm going to relax now, like a cup of tea, like a herbal tea maybe, and just relax and prepare for yourself for the exam. Let me see if I got some more tips for you there. Nope. And then it is the day of the exam started. It's game time, and the exam is happening. So you're sitting there on your bench, you get the paper, you get your exam, and what do? Well, the most important tip, what I always forgot, and that is before you begin the exam, preview and scan the exam first. Just check it out. Just note the points and value of the questions, because not every question has the same amount of points. So the tip is get like a extra paper, answer paper, like a scratch paper, and note there which questions have the most value. So you know, okay, have to be smart, because it's better to do the questions with the higher point value first, because then I earn more points and I get a better grade. Then calculate how much time you should allow for each question. So likely make a quick plan. Okay, I have 1 hour for this exam, so maybe the questions with a higher point value, I'm going to do, I take that many minutes for, so they let you make a small exam plan. And then another one that was new for me, but I actually think it's quite smart, and that is do a mind dump. You think, okay, what does she mean with that? But that is using what you saw in the preview, because you scanned the exam and you saw all those questions already, and your mind goes working already. And then you see, okay, what you just saw in the preview, you make notes of anything you think you might forget. So you write quickly on the extra paper, you write down the things that you use in the learning material that you might help remember. That you write down the little notes, you think, okay, this is important, I don't have to forget that. I put it already down. Because sometimes you're so busy with the questions that you sometimes forgot all those important things. So the tip is do a little mind dump for the important things, like little scratchy paper, all the things you think, okay, I don't have to forget those things. Because when reading the questions, all those things pop up in your head. Choose what works for you, of course. Maybe it doesn't work for you, but if you think it works for you, try it out. Then, okay, you did your preparation before this exam, you previewed it, you did a little mind dump, then read each question carefully. Because sometimes you're like rushed, you feel like, okay, I have to do this good, I have to do this good. And then you read so fast that you accidentally read over some important words. So read each question carefully and sometimes read it more times. Answer the questions you know or the easy ones first, because it also motivates you to do well. It helps you get in a good flow. If you think, okay, these are the questions I know and I do the easy ones, I'm going to do this one first. Because if you start with a really heavy one, then you get demotivated and you think, oh, I'm not going to get it in time, so try that one. Something a lot of research says is try not to, sometimes it has to, of course, but try not to change your answers that quickly, especially with multiple choice questions. They say that most of the time, your first hunch is the best hunch. That's the first thing that comes to mind. So of course you can change answers if you think, oh, I did it wrong, but try to, try to really think about it. Another thing is watch the time. When you hold on a little bit on your plan, it works better because the time can fly so fast in the exam. So try to a little bit watch the time. Okay, these were the general tips for during the exam. But not every exam is the same, as you know, because we have got all different types of exams. Oh, yeah. Maybe you guys already know some different types of exams, like you see in the picture right from you. There are multiple choice exams, but there are also open-ended questions, open vragen in Dutch, or essay questions, or maybe you guys sometimes have true-false questions. You guys recognize those, like a stelling, and then is it juist of onjuist, true-false? And I'm really curious, what are the exams you feel most confident about? Like, okay, I like these ones. And what are the kind of exams you find the most challenging? So I am going to ask you guys to go to Menti again. I'm going to put the code here in again, 74473669. You guys are already filling it, I guess. What kind of exams do you find most challenging? So that's the first question. What do you think is most challenging? Does it work? You guys can fill the code in. So 744736. Oh, I forgot to put it to everyone. So there it is, 74473669. Excuse me, I thought I put it in the chat, but I forgot. Yeah, I see there. What you find the most challenging, so the most difficult? Yeah, math. Yeah, I also don't like those ones. Wiskunde is the same. Economics kinds. So there's more the thinking questions. Something case studies they don't like. Statistics, just like math. Those are things you don't like. Yeah. What else? We'll wait a little bit for some more people to answer this question. And you can already answer the next one if you're done with this one. All of them. Oh, that's not motivating. You really dislike exams. Juist, onjuist. Yeah, the true false ones. They're tricky ones, eh? But we're going to, hopefully going to give you some tips on that. Math, cases. Let's see if there's some more coming. Multiple choice. Yeah, I also dislike them. This is another true false one. Let me see if there are coming some more. And I'm going to go to the next slide in between. There are more coming in. Cases, application exams. Yeah, you have to apply your knowledge, yeah? Yeah, I think you mean that with that. Okay, we're going to the next screen. I'm going to open the other one. And click on present. Yeah, there it is. Which kinds of exams you feel most confident? So which ones do you like? Oh, again, economics. So some people do like economics. Or giving your opinion. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Examples, you guys like that. Numeral, yeah, the ones that like math, essay ones, multiple choice. Someone likes multiple choice, yeah. I think them difficult, but some people are good at them. I know that. Open questions, essay questions. Nice. Good to hear, everyone. I'm going to wait for some more answers. Theory, history. Yeah, it's just what you're good at, eh? Nice. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this one and I'm going to share the PowerPoint again. There we go. First of all the types of exams, we're going to look at open essay questions. And one of the first tips therein is that you have to read the instructions questions carefully. And even several times, they say, because they can be tricky. And one thing that's really important, teachers can put things in them that are already important. So keywords. Notice these keywords. Get a pencil and underline these keywords or write them down on your piece of paper. Like, okay, these are important words I have to put in the answer. Underline these keywords. And then think before you write. That's something I always used to forget, and I know my students also sometimes forget, that you think, okay, you have the question, has so many time, rush, 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 I have to answer, put down everything I know. But that's not always working. Try to take a minute to just organize it. Write down on the extra piece of paper to write down, organize your answer. What do you think the teacher is asking here? What do you think he really wants to hear? And then start with an opening sentence. So that is, if you have your open question, try to start with an opening sentence. And that is always the best thing, is to reword the question. So that's the question that the teacher asked you, but try to put it in your own words. And has someone ever tried that one before? So reword the question. We're going to practice that later on as well. I'm just going to read the chat. I don't know if anyone put something in chat. If you can all still hear me well, please let me know if you can't hear me well. Okay, cool. Thanks, Tiara. And then we're going to practice the reworded question and make it readable. Sometimes when I, as a teacher, have to grade these kind of questions, I see above, under, with an arrow, and then where you have to read it. Of course, sometimes it happens, and it's not that bad, but it's not always that handy. So try to make it a little bit readable. And again, use those keywords, because those are the words that the teacher wants to hear, and it's already in the question. Just put them in the those important words in the answer. And if you have any time left, reread your answer, and do you have everything? check if you have everything. Sometimes, I don't know if you recognize that, but sometimes I'm so quick with answering my questions that my head goes faster than my pencil, and I forget words. So check it if you have time, if you don't forget words, or if you have everything, if all the important things are in there. Reread the question another time. Is it really what the teacher wants you? Is this what you think the teacher is asking here? Are there any questions so far? Is this a little bit clear? And then I'm going to just wait one. And there is the example of rewording the question. So I just tell you, if you have like an open question or an essay question, there is an like an example here, and you can try it out in the chat. Here is the example. Account for the economic success of the newly industrializing countries of Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, and South Korea since the 1960s. So the question is, account for the economic success of the newly industrializing countries of Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, and South Korea since the 1960s. Okay, how would you reword or rewrite this question? Think about it. You can put it in the chat, you don't have to, but you can put it. What? How would you do that? I'll give you a second before I go too fast. Okay. I'm going to show you guys so you can check for yourself if this is like something you recognize. Oh. A rephrased version can be explain why Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, and South Korea, which are all newly industrializing countries, have been economically successful since the 1960s. So when you rewrite this for yourself, you can understand better because you put it in your own words, and you already start thinking. You get your mind started, like, okay, this is what he asked. Oh, this is what he asked from me. The teacher asked for me, and this is how I'm going to do it. So this will help you to make it. Does anyone already uses this strategy? I'm curious. Let me see if I can see the chat. Does anyone already uses this? Put it in the chat if you do. Nice to read. Okay, then the next type of question, and I don't know, do you guys have this one? Oh, nice, Tiaga. Do you guys already use this one, the multiple choice questions? Use this one, I mean, do you guys have this type of exam a lot of times? With us in the Haagse Hogeschool, there's one type of course that has it a lot. Do you have to answer a lot of multiple choice questions? Well, when you make multiple choice questions, it is important to anticipate the answer before, oh, I go too fast, sorry, to anticipate the answer before you look at the choices. Like, for example, put your hands above the answers. So you can only read the question or put a paper on top of it. So at first, so you don't get distracted from all the options. Just think, okay, what is the first thing that comes in mind to you if you read this question? Then, when you get done, read the options. Eliminate highly implausible answers. So scratch them and then choose the answer what you think is the best. One tip with multiple choice questions is don't linger too long at a question. If you don't know for sure, mark the best guess and move on, because most of the times, how longer you start doubting a question, the more you see you know the answers and you choose the wrong one. So doubtful answer, mark it and recheck it later. And first guesses are more likely to correct, they say. I can't say, okay, this is 100% true what I say now, but they say in research that it's more likely. So I'm not completely 100% sure, but it's more likely that first guesses are to be correct. And then, of course, when you read questions, you're in a rush and you not always know exactly, and you read sometimes fast because you're in a rush, you're making an exam, you have to, there are 20 more questions. Pay attention to questions with niet of geen, of like not or least, because they can be a bit tricky. And then you think, oh, it's the right answer, but you forgot the word not. Or de minste, of de hoogste, of de laatste, weet je, that kind of words. So pay attention to them. A lot of times teachers mark them with fat letters, but always please keep attention to them because they're tricky. Okay, then we can move on to some of you already thought was a difficult one, and those are the true-false questions, dus the juist-onjuist ones. And the basic idea behind the true-false question is simple. It consists of a single statement, and your job is to decide whether it's true. But what the choice makes so difficult, because it sounds easy, but what makes difficult is that a statement must be 100% true. And that's why the first tip is watch for the little words, because when it's juist or onjuist, it is the difference between true or false is so small that you really have to focus on, okay, well, is it like, what does it say? What makes the big difference? And that are, most of the time, those are little words, like, for example, all, only, always, because, generally, usually, those kind of words, or none. So like the stretch of the big sentence is always true, but then they're just those little words that make it not true or just true. You guys get me a little bit? Can you follow me? I hope. If I go too fast, let me know. And again, here they say the first hunch is usually, most of the times, the first hunch is correct. Okay, those were the exams. You made the exam. It is after the exam. I think you guys also have that at your university, that you can go, when you made the exam, you go to the inzage. You can see in the exam, you can see what you did wrong. You can ask questions. And I always tell my students, really do this, because it really helps if you know what you did wrong and you can ask questions. And reflect on your preparation, reflect on your performance and what you might do differently in the future. So really try to focus on those things. So what did you do in your preparation? Should you make an exam, and practice exam, I mean, or should have you done, what should you done differently during your performance? And yeah, what should you do differently? So reflecting is a good thing. And I found you a little tool you can maybe use if it helps you. This is, you can see like, okay, I write down my problem numbers, and then I write down what question, what was the answer, and I rewrite the problem you answered incorrectly with the correct answer. So while doing that, you force yourself to understand the question and the answer. So you will force yourself, and then you do, in the last column, you do a little reflection, like you think about why you answered the question incorrectly. Why did you choose for that wrong answer? What was it what you may think? So if you do it another time again, that you won't make the same mistake. So select a reflection choice that identifies why you got the problem wrong. Because if you know that when you're aware of what you did, it's more likely the next time that you won't do it wrong. I hope that helps. Oh, I see there's someone in the chat. Picture of the correctiemail. Yeah, it's good that you said it, because we also talked in the beginning, and Mike, about the assessment form or the correctiemodel, especially not for exams with multiple choice, but especially essay or reflection papers. You really have to check the correction model, the assessment form, because there it says what they're really going to focus on while grading you. So then you know what to do. Yeah, that's a good thing. But it's not always allowed taking a picture of the correction model, Mike. So you always have to ask the teacher. Okay, then we're on to the last two parts of this workshop for today. And that is exam stress and test anxiety, how to cope with that. Maybe you recognize this picture, that you really don't see it anymore when you're preparing for your test. And a little stress can be a good thing. It can be the motivational push that we need to get things done. But sometimes it can also be a little bit too much. And some of you already used that, I heard in the beginning. When you have this exam stress and test anxiety, remember to breathe, eat, sleep, exercise well, set realistic goals, like not only 2 days before the exam learning. No, be realistic. Don't go do it alone. Same way I told you with the motivational workshop. Use peers, talk to them, let each other help, because sometimes when you get too stressed, you get lonely and you feel depressed and you don't see it anymore. So you get maybe panic. So pace yourself through your panic and talk with your peers, seek help. And then at last but not least, also believe in yourself. Think about yourself. Okay, I'm now in my second year or in the end of my first year. Well, I did something good because I did a lot of exams already. So I did something good. So if you only talk to yourself, okay, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to really fail, then you're not going to, the chance that you're going to do well is small. So really try to believe in yourself, be a little bit positive. I hope this helps a little bit, guys. And if I'm going too fast, let me know. And if you have questions, also let me know. Then when sometimes it happens that you have anxiety during an exam, what kind are the, like this picture you see, you can feel like that. I'm a burrito of stress. So visualize a successful outcome. So try to think positive. It helps because if you're only stressed, you'll get blanked out and you get a mind freeze. It's just, so try to visualize a successful outcome. What for some people help is view the test as a game, like make it fun. Like, okay, I'm just going to do this. It's a fun game. I'm going to win this game. And not for everyone it helps, but maybe it can help you. And what some people already said, practice mindful breathing. So that can also help you. I'm going to check out the last one. And I'm curious if some of you guys already recognize this. I hope not, of course, but when you're in an exam and you have a total mind blank or freeze, like you prepared well, but you're there and you're really stressed and you read it and then it's blank. Your cognitive activity is difficult. You cannot, it works, doesn't it? You're like a little rabbit. It doesn't work anymore. What happens is that an exam can be interpreted as stress. And in the human brain, stress response is triggered and then a mind blank can happen. So this happens when stress response in your brain is triggered, you can get a mind blank. But more importantly, how do we overcome it? First thing is, again, the breathing or relaxation techniques, de-stress yourself. But you can also prepare yourself because they say the more you experience it, the less threatening it will get. So if you make more exams, it will get less threatening and you get used to it a little bit about how it is to use exams, and you recognize your own system, and you know, okay, I will get this. And I'm not sure if this really works, but I read in some research that they say, okay, try to prepare yourself in a bit more stressful situation. So when you're learning, also push yourself a little bit. When you're too relaxed and too soothing, they say, it can be too big of difference. But really use what you think works best for you. But that can help for some people. Okay. Those were a lot of tips, a lot of things to be told today. And there were some more tips we maybe didn't talk about yet, and I wanted to tell them to you guys. Something I read in the Harvard University as a tip was know your own weaknesses. So When you know you're not good at a kind of maybe in open and case studies, practice yourself with those case studies. When you know you're not good at multiple choice tests, practice yourself with the practice exam. If you know you get anxious really well, try to focus more on the breathing techniques. So know what's your weakness and prepare yourself for that. And do not try to attempt. For some people it works, but generally, if you cram the morning of an exam, it's not always works because it goes in your short-term memory, and you won't really know it anymore when you're for longer term. So for some people it can work, but most of the time people get more stressed from it. The other one we already heard, that circle keywords in difficult questions. I think, okay, I have to use these words and then I have to answer it. So recognize these keywords. Rephrase the questions. We also talked about that one. Rewording or rephrasing the questions. I hope that you guys learned something. I wanted to wish you guys very good luck with your next exam. I hope some of these skills will help you. And that you will do well. So I wish you guys all the best of luck.